The next definition is absolute continuity. Girls, absolute continuity is similar to your absolute convergence. It's a very, very simple definition which we have seen many a number of times. It's the same repetition. So f is a real valued function which is defined and closed interval a comma b. Then f is said to be absolutely continuous. If for a given epsilon greater than 0, we can find a delta greater than 0. But here you have a finite subcollection of intervals xk and xk dash, where k is varying from 1 to n of pairwise disjoint intervals and closed interval a comma b. And if summation k equal to 1 to n mod xk dash minus xk is less than delta, then summation k equal to 1 to n mod f of xk dash minus f of xk is less than epsilon. Girls, this is modulus. Okay, so this is the definition of absolute continuity, and we all know that absolutely continuous function is continuous, but the converse need not be true. So it's very obvious that if a function f is absolutely continuous, definitely it is continuous by default. But in the first theorem under absolute continuity, you are supposed to prove that every absolutely continuous function should be a function of bounded variation. Now let me remind you that when you're talking about bounded variation, you have to show that capital T is less than infinity. But before proving capital T depends upon your small t. You have to show that small t is less than infinity. Once again, let me remind you the definition of small t. Small t is nothing but summation I equal to 1 to n mod f of xi minus f of xi minus 1. So here what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to apply the same definition, girls. So here instead of taking epsilon as epsilon, we assume epsilon to be equal to 1. Now what is the necessity? You may be thinking, why are we assuming epsilon to be 1? Girls, epsilon is a very, very minute number which is slightly greater than 0. So the maximum value that it can take is 1. Now we for our comfort zone, we consider epsilon to be equal to 1 because it becomes easy for us to simplify the equation. So if you want, you can leave it as epsilon also, but it will be better. I mean, just to enhance the theorem, we are assuming your epsilon to be equal to 1. So write the same definition once again, but here we are considering a natural number n which is greater than b minus a by delta. That means you are trying to consider a very, very small number. I mean, natural number n which is slightly greater than your b minus a by delta. So if you just carefully observe, this is nothing but your length of the domain interval, and it is nothing but length of the domain divided by delta, which is even more smaller length. We are considering a partition of closed interval a comma b, which is given, I mean, here what are we trying to do over here is, your domain is closed interval a comma b. We are trying to divide this into n plus 1 number of partition points by considering c0 to cn, such that when you are taking the length mod cj plus 1 minus cj, when you are taking the jth subinterval, it is less than some delta. Now here, from the definition of your absolute continuity, we have to consider a finite subcollection of pairwise disjoint open intervals, which is xk dash and xk. Now we have to consider this finite pairwise disjoint collection of intervals definitely which is belonging to this subinterval, that is cj and cj plus 1. So that when you are taking the summation, when you are finding out the length of these intervals from 1 to n, it will be definitely less than mod cj plus 1 minus cj. You may be thinking, why? Because I have already written here that this is a collection of pairwise disjoint open intervals in the subinterval. That means this collection is a subset of cj and cj plus 1. So it's very obvious that when you're taking the summation, when you're calculating the lengths of them, it will be definitely less than mod cj plus 1 minus cj. But we have assumed that mod cj plus 1 minus cj is less than delta. Hence this term is less than delta. Now because this is less than delta, here we are applying the definition of absolute continuity, because it is clearly given to us in the theorem that the given function is absolutely continuous. So summation k equal to 1 to n mod f of xk dash minus f of xk is less than epsilon. But I told you we have assumed your epsilon to be equal to 1. So now this is nothing but the definition of total variation. But this total variation belong to which subinterval, girls? Cj and cj plus 1. So total variation of cj to cj plus 1 over your function f is less than 1. Actually it is less than epsilon, but epsilon is nothing but 1. But we don't have to prove for cj and cj plus 1, girls. We have to prove for the entire domain. What is your domain? Closed interval a comma b. So your domain, to get your closed interval a comma b, you have to take summation from over your j. But j is varying from where to where, girls? J is varying from 1 to n. So your TAB, that is total variation over the entire domain a to b, will be nothing but summation over j equal to 1 to n and this. So you are adding this how many times, girls? You are adding this n number of times. So when j equal to 1, you will get the first value which is less than 1. When you are adding j equal to 2, you will get 1, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, so on n times. Now my thing is, suppose if you are considering this as epsilon, instead of 1 plus 1 plus 1, what do you get here? You will get epsilon plus epsilon plus epsilon, so on n times. So what happens? It is, I mean, though you get the answer, but then it is the answer is that not that enhancer. That's the reason you're considering your epsilon to be equal to 1, so that this is 1 plus 1 plus 1 n times, so which is less than n. Girls, I'm sorry, this is less than your n. So but n is nothing but a finite number which is definitely less than infinity, therefore the total variation is less than infinity. Hence we come to a conclusion that every function which is absolutely continuous is a function of bounded variation on closed interval a comma b. Now based on this theorem you have a small corollary, girls, which tells us that if your function is absolutely continuous, derivative of the function is existing. Girls, we all know that if your function is absolutely continuous, from this theorem which we have just now learned, f is a function of bounded variation. Because f is a function of bounded variation, definitely the derivative of the function will exist almost everywhere. This is coming again from your previous theorem. So by this we finish this theorem.